Recreation Trails. Good morning, this is Attila, this is the Recreation Trails Committee meeting for March 20th. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Roll call. Good turnout so far, we're missing Counselor Weeks. School representative, Jenna's missing, Patrick. I think it's it.
Yeah, or Jackie.
Jackie is the one.
I'm right here.
Jackie.
Oh,
Get
she's
behind
here.
you. Snuck in. And then Matt is not here yet. Okay. You ready? Okay, no community members to worry about today, ask questions from, we're doing add some announcements in here. Agenda item in a second. Approval of our minutes from February 20th. Motion approved. And only comment I have is the approval of the Google agenda, key points to share and back to council was a weird typo. Share back to type. Oh, okay. What were you thinking about? Put it, turn into a name. Otherwise, anyone have any other comments on the minutes? Okay, minutes are approved by consensus. Okay, today's agenda items, there's a bunch of stuff on here, but it's gonna be, I think, a lot of quick topics to discuss. First is an update on the Trust Plus grant, decide on our next steps, and I believe our project manager, Rocky, will prepare in a second. That's the first item on the agenda. The second is a proposal from ECTA. So what we do with that. And the third item is review our 2024 accomplishment reports and approve that and submit it to council. Number 4 is discussing National Trails Day options and decide on how we want to move forward, or if we want to move forward on that. Item 5 is discuss a running race proposal, which was brought to us by Visit Angel Fire, and then Elliot's been working on a proposal for that, or a concept. And then our 6th item is addressing the need for a recreation focused member for our committee. And then wrap up. Anything else for the agenda? Any change of order? Time limits on anything? Okay, I want to add some announcements at the front of that topic, so. Approval of the agenda, everyone with consensus for that? Sounds like it. Okay, one announcement I have is 2 days ago, Consensus Planning reached out to our committee asking that they want to present to us their concepts for Liberty Square, because they really want the input from our committee on what that could look like and how the recreation trails elements fit into those concepts. We attempted to put it on this agenda, but understand that since the agenda was posted, we couldn't change it fast enough. So I'm wondering if we want to do a separate focus group Zoom meeting with Consensus Planning to share the concepts for Liberty Square. Anyone want to sit in on an hour call with them, maybe to hash over the issues for Liberty Square? Anyone not want to do that? Okay, so sounds like we do. I will take the lead on establishing. I don't think they want to wait till the next April meeting. I think it's too long for them. They want to present something back to council quicker, I believe. So what I'm going to do is select 3, see if I get 3 dates from consensus with them might work. I do have a bunch of, I think I have those files and maybe some different ones. They just emailed me last night. And I'll see who's available for a Zoom meeting with them that they would set up for an hour call. That agreeable to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So review that. Consensus Planning wants to meet with us. We'll make it a focus group session. It won't be a village work session. it'll just be consensus planning, talking to folks on this committee. They'll give me 3 dates and we'll see who we can get, a bit to meet for that time period for them and, give the, who has our input on, nobody's where.
Do they have a date that they have to submit to the council?
I haven't seen anything from them on that. They just we're hoping to get on this agenda and we were gonna modify it, but
Okay,
it turned out that we could not based on, time
okay.
constraints.
These are the 3 options.
I think they are, but I'm not sure how those have come about, but it does have consensus planning stamp of approval on those. I think those might be the 3 big plans.
We should probably at least familiarize ourselves.
Yeah, I'll email you the files I got last night. I'll email the committee what I got from consensus planning.
Okay.
Who's the head of that planning committee?
Ken Romig is the lead planner.
Okay.
So I've known him for a long time in his firm. It's a good reputable planning firm.
Okay, good.
They do listen to what their clients tell them and don't rubber stamp and giving you a cookie cutter of what someone else did. So
Okay, good.
it's kind of nice. Okay, anything else on, any other announcements? Okay. All right, update on Trails Plus grant, Rocky. You can sit if you want to.
It's fine. I think you were in committee chair. Good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
Well, the first thing that, what I've been waiting for is a signed contract back from them, so that we have something solid to go by. I have received the contract. We did have our manager, village manager sign it. And it's now sent in their hands for their signature, waiting for it to come back. When it does come back, of course, we'll have our clerk stored in our files and we'll have a solid contract to start this project.
Okay.
Okay. However, we did had a brief discussion with Dennis Engineering. And they're willing to take on and to take a look at the trail, look at this opportunity here. And I'm asking him for a quote. What's it gonna cost to engineer it? And so I think he's got plans maybe next week to come maybe even this afternoon, to take an initial look at the trail and give us some estimates as what he thinks he can do as far as an engineering service. You know, if I don't think it'll cost that, but if it goes over 60,000, we'll have to compete it. If it's under that, then, you know, I'm pretty sure we can work something out. We'll have to come up with some comparables, but we don't have to run an RFP. So we'll have to wait to see what it would cost for his engineering firm to come up with some engineering plans for our trail.
So what is he working off of?
Nothing at the moment. I mean, we just had this discussion yesterday.
Okay.
Today, he's gonna get maps and some more information from Shay.
So
I believe, is that right?
what is his scope of work gonna be? He's gonna say asphalt trail, here's what it's gonna cost, or is he using the stuff that we put together for his surfaces earlier?
Yeah, the scope of work is gonna come from your work. You know, what you want on that trail. It's probably not gonna be paved, right? You didn't want to pave it.
No,
But you did want some kind of a crusher find or some kind of
Well,
a surface or whatever that was, right?
yeah, and excavated and,
Right, Tamp.
road and,
all that,
road and barrier.
right, drainage,
and
perhaps,
youth crew built,
you know,
youth crew built,
youth crew built.
right?
And bridges.
Yeah.
Look, there's.
Yeah.
And
bridge.
permits.
And permits and all that, yeah, all that needs to be incorporated in his
And what
contract.
about land, rights? Is that part of the engineering where they would get the proper easements? I mean, we still have,
That's
some
a good
issues with-
question.
we still have some
Right.
issues on the layout. As far as I recall, with crossing over resort.
That is a question, and whether we're gonna get that, receive that, or go around it, I'm not sure. Exactly
So
how-
I will say, and we can keep this conversation going, I will say I'm very hesitant on using Ted as an engineer for this project. Cause what I can see on their website, they have never, ever done a trail project in their entire lives, and there's their whole portfolio. So they may be good at doing water systems and sewer systems, but that doesn't not make them a trail planner. It's a whole different science.
He claims he has.
I don't see it on their portfolio. He can claim a lot and he can subcontract it out. And that's what he'll do. He'll hire a trail subcontractor to do the work. Then you're paying double for the work.
I am aware of what you're saying, on our property here for the workforce housing. We needed a environmental assessment and a biological assessment as a requirement of the grant. And, he didn't have that expertise and he did contract out to another person who's doing that. So you may be right.
Yeah. And there's, if you did not use an engineer, you would not have the same certified engineering fees built into the trail plan, the design plan, I'm almost positive. If you use a trail specialist, and there's a whole Professional Trail Builders Association that could scope this out, including local people, that could probably get you the engineering or the trail design work and the materials list. And maybe the only thing they have trouble with is a bridge, going through Corps of Engineers for a bridge permit. But you could probably get all that done cheaper than you would with Denson Engineering. So I would not take the route just because you have an online or a contract with them. I would not go that route.
No, we're getting a quote,
Okay.
okay? We'll probably get many quotes.
Okay,
It's just a quote. This was a initial discussion.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, this is just a quote to see what's this gonna cost? How far is 100,000 gonna go?
So our grant is 100,000.
99,999.
But then there's match to that, right?
We have a 50%, half that. So we come up with half.
And the total, of the 99,000.
Right,
It's 50,000 from the village and 50.
it's 2 to 1. So
They
every,
come up with 100, we come up with.
right,
So the total project is worth 150,000.
150, I guess.
150, okay.
Yeah, it could be, that's right, with our match.
And if it ends up coming in at 70,000 total, does the village have to provide
RFP.
their share, their percentage,
Oh,
pro
yeah,
rata percentage?
oh, yeah,
Okay,
sure, yeah. That's just 2 to 1, no matter what it costs.
whatever.
Yeah, the threshold of 60,000 was whether we go to RFP or not.
Gotcha.
Under 60,000, we can ask for multiple bids. We don't have to choose the lowest, but we have to get 3. So,
So Attila, do you have some specific organizations in mind that you?
Well, I know a lot of that I object to,
Or
or,
that you would want to reach out to the village?
well, Consensus Planning does trail design work. They could do it. They have planners and that do trail work in their firm, and they probably have some engineers that are needed. So Consensus Planning is better fitted for this kind of project than Dennis Engineering is.
is that an entity, consensus
They're
planning?
the ones doing the work
Oh,
on
same one there?
Liberty Square, yeah, Ken Romay. Mhm.
And
Yeah, there's also planned collaborative. There's another one in Albuquerque that's, they're the planning firms. And they're gonna give you all the kind of conceptual design stuff. Now, the trail design firms are gonna get you grade and your width and all the materials you need and all those pieces of the puzzle. So I think the important thing is whoever does this is that, you generate a list of, this project involves retaining a youth crew to do a lot of the work, maybe overseeing the youth crew, potentially working with ECTA or working with Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. It requires obtaining a Corps of Engineers bridge permits to put in a pedestrian, scoping out a prefab bridge to put across the creek. It requires these materials for the surfacing. So I think we have that scope of work, then anyone can look at it and say, yeah,
Right,
I'm bidding on what you want. So this,
when the work comes. Yeah.
right. Well, I think if you're getting quotes from Dennis.
Well,
or
they have to know what's involved, right,
You have to know, everyone's gotta know exactly
They have
what
to know
the
what's
project
involved.
is.
right.
so have we defined exactly what the project is so that we get?
I believe I gave Shay some of that material months ago, of what I thought this would entail.
Is she on?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
So I believe that does exist out there, that here's the important components of this project to do it right. Shay, does that sound familiar? I've shared with you some scope work elements for this grant, or I think we might have put it in the grant itself, actually.
Yeah, I'll go through, I recall that email, so I'll have to go through it and look for it again. But yes, I do believe I have that.
But that meeting you're proposing, your work session or whatever that is, what dates, do you have dates for that?
I do not, for the Liberty Square thing, I do not, so Ken and I are exchanging, we tried to get on this agenda, could not. Apparently he wants to get it done, I think I could definitely get him on the next meeting, he said he'd like to do it sooner than that.
I was thinking if you wanted to add another agenda item to go over the scope. I don't know, what you think about that?
Not at that meeting,
Not that one,
yeah, I wanna keep this just focused on Liberty Square.
all right.
Cause he wants to have a focus group with us in Liberty Square. So I think if we find the email that Shay has or put that scope together and share it back out to our committee,
We can vet it out.
we can vet it out
Okay.
digitally, electronically and share it with you that way.
Sounds good?
That
Okay.
would be good. So what else you got?
Well, you know, our contract's 24 months, we have 24 months, we've been hoping to accomplish everything we can this year, but we do have 24 months. The tier two, we missed that opportunity already, just in case anybody's asking, that ended on the 28th of February, it's closed. So just letting you know that. And as far as if we can get as far as we can, is what I think we can this year, then we'll be going for tier three. And see if we can get some funding to continue the work.
What's the date on that one? Tier 3.
Tier three would be open, September, let me see. Oh, you know what? These are this year's. We'll have to wait for next year's dates.
Okay.
They'll probably be similar, though. They have.
They'll be similar.
I think
It
it's
was
July.
July, yeah, it was July, so you can almost guess it'll be July next year.
So that would
July,
be
this-
our
2020.
This year.
That would be our target is. to-
Yeah,
to
so they may
have
open
the-
up a tier two and tier three in this summer.
So our target would be to have the engineering and planning done. Time to apply for the.
Time to play for this every grade to show that we've completed this.
Yeah.
And now we're ready for tier two.
It'd be a pretty big push, I would think.
We know that can be done.
I think it can be done.
Just in July.
Yeah, it can be done in 2 months.
Engineering.
Yeah, the reason I think it would be good for all of us to have a consensus on what our scope of work is for the trail in detail. Is because scope creep could enter in here, you know, where you do it, get it all done, and then your scope is created, but then, oh, you know what, we forgot about this. We need to add this. And then we have to get the engineers back in on it again and that kind of thing, because, and I know this from experience, because that's what we're going through in housing. We're doing one thing and then, you know, change it a little bit and, oh, and I did turn in your suggestion for sidewalks. That was another thing, you know, something we forgot about. So back to engineering again, lay out the sidewalks for the road, those kind of things. So it's really important for us to kind of come to a consensus as to what that scope of work is.
That's why it would. A specific organization to look at it, because they're gonna say, did you think about this, and this?
Oh, they're gonna offer some good recommendations.
Because that's what their expertise is, and Dennis Engineering isn't gonna have that.
Okay,
I think it's important to consider the adaptive trail process.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many slopes that you have to look at,
Yeah.
especially over the roads and.
Is that
the
in the
stairs.
scope of work is that we wanted?
Yeah.
To make sure it's.
Shared use trail, adaptive trail.
Yeah.
what was this, adaptive trails, what is?
For like handicap.
Handicap,
Oh,
because we're going up over a road, it's gonna have to have a certain slope
Yeah.
to.
Doesn't mean it has to be,
Stairs.
you know, ADA compliant, because there's a lot of difference with adaptive trail.
I think this one would be, I think this one could be ADA compliant because we're talking about access to the school
Okay.
and access to the sports field. So if you wanna have your grandmother with you to the sports field, take the trail, and she happens to be mobility impaired, then she should be able to take that route. And so you can get the grades on this easy to stay within 5%.
Yeah.
You have one, you know, depending on how we get over or under or through Halo Pines is the only catch. Is it cheaper to go under Halo Pines or is it cheaper to build up enough fill to get that? That's an engineering question.
And you got stairs there to, North Enzo Fire Road.
Right, but that,
But I
since
think
that's the
the,
old trail, this part will.
I think the plan is to terminate it at,
Yeah.
Liberty Square now.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It'd be-
but that's good, these are all things to consider, up here, you know,
But I think the land right issues are important too, because if it can't really proceed with the layout until we know what the
Because Patrick said they were concerned about 192.
Yeah,
property.
yeah, the resort, the layout we have proposed in Mark crosses areas that the resort is not thrilled about.
Right.
Yeah, there's, they had some specific objections to.
Yeah, there's 192, 193. 193 was okay, and 192 was a concern. He thought he could develop that.
Okay.
That was kids.
So that has to be, I imagine once, ski season's done, Patrick will have more time to. But is that something, I mean, working out that land deal is probably coming more from this committee?
I think that's a village resort conversation.
Yeah, but I guess we need to push, if we
Yeah,
don't
we do
push
need to
on
push it,
it.
we need to
it's-
recommend.
So what do you know is the status, I mean, the update at this point in that?
That
The
there's,
request has been submitted, right? We're just waiting for.
Yeah, I don't know, I think,
the last I heard is that Jeff thought we might want to do a presentation to the
For the resort.
resort on this project. Making fancy PowerPoint kind of thing, so.
Is there an alternative? If they say no to 192, is there an alternative, or does that kill the whole project?
it sounded like they were,
From my understanding, just skirted the
yeah,
edge of it.
I
So
think
we could
they
move
were-
it over just
yeah.
a little bit.
I think they
Be
just,
compliant.
yeah, but I think. I think the feedback back to Patrick was they didn't like the existing layout and didn't want it crossing lot 192, but they're not opposed to it. But I don't think they proposed the alternative. I think we gotta propose the alternative. Like I said, maybe the presentation needs to be made to the resort, saying, here's what we'd like.
Well, then we should work on that sooner rather than later.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Try to get that,
Right.
try to get
Yeah.
that in front of the resort management team within the next, I don't know. At least get scheduled in the next couple of weeks and at least presented within the next month, I would say.
I can schedule that with Patrick.
Sure, yeah, it's,
I mean, that, I have to get on this calendar, right?
what's that?
Yeah, Patrick, probably have to get on that calendar.
Yeah, I would give him a little heads up. What would say
What's his budget?
west?
West.
What's a reasonable timeline for that?
And who's gonna take lead on putting the presentation together?
I can help, but I can't take the lead on it right now, at least not for the next month.
If I get the information, I can pull it together in a presentation.
That probably includes some photos and what we staked out last fall to show
Yeah.
trying to show the connections to the school and.
And then we have the survey from Carl that shows the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's survey or shows what we staked out.
right.
So if there's a map that Carl has.
I'll get that.
That's probably the most critical piece.
Yeah,
Yeah, then
that's
it
gonna be
shows
the-
what lots it's going.
That'd be a good
across
talking
with their-
point,
With their objectives too.
okay?
Well, I think we also want to point out to them that this would connect to their female housing area. So people walking home from work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon can walk straight to the female housing area behind the other Stop and Rob store over here.
There's a female housing.
Yeah, those little condos along the Family Dollar, that's female employee housing. So, you're now providing a work route home,
Yeah,
so.
that's a good sell point.
Who has contact information for Patrick West?
I
all of
do.
us do.
Can you, want to email it to me?
Yeah, I can do that.
That'd be great.
Sure.
Hey, online people, just as a heads up, at 9:10, you're gonna get kicked off for a brief second and Ileana will reconnect you based on a Zoom licensing issue or renewal issue. And then you're all expected to put in $10 in the PayPal account to fund that renewal. Okay, so the scope of work, Shay, if you could reshare that scope of work, with Matt and I, and maybe the whole committee, just put it out the group and we can take a look at that scope and see what's, if we need to add to that, that would be helpful.
Okay,
Rocky as well, and we can start looking at that, and that's what you should work with
Yeah.
all the people you're talking to, I think.
And I'll work with, the resort to get in front of them with a presentation,
Okay,
at
wonderful.
least get a date.
Yeah,
That way we know where to go.
okay.
As soon as I get that contract from them, I'll definitely circulate it.
Okay. So our goal would be is construction in 2026, and that's what we wanna push for, so.
That'd be good.
And that means that we'll be pursuing YCC grants to fund the summer youth corps here. Pursuing money from Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, and they could help with them, and also potentially funds from Land and Water Conservation Fund if Congress so decides to fund that, the administration lets that money out. So there's other sources besides the state to fund this that we can go after. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Thanks, right?
Thanks, Rocky.
Okay. Next item on here is proposal from ECTA. And Matt, did you get a chance to review?
I did take a look at that.
Okay.
Several times, let me pull it back up.
Did they get distributed to the committee at large or not?
It's distributed to Matt and I at this point.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, we're not gonna agree anything today, I don't think, but here's a printed copy, Matt, if you want a printed one.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
So yeah,
Thank you.
it's not, didn't go to everybody just yet.
Yeah, so there's kind of just an outline letter, but his actual scope of work proposal, let's see, there's a little bit more. There's second page. Yeah, so I'll just go through this real quick. So proposed for trail development and maintenance program between the Village of Angel Fire and ECTA, talks about blah, 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 well-funded trail systems, benefits, blah, blah, blah. Greater life, standard talking points, scope of work. ECTA proposes a professional service agreements with the Village of Angel Fire to provide services related to trail development, trail system development, maintenance, and promotion of the Enchanted Circle. And specifically, it would be our National Forest Access, Ho Chi Minh Girl Scout, Elliot Barker, etc. There are some other trails in here that I don't know how much it really pertains to us, if it's in the greater Enchanted Circle, but the K-Tau de Arroyo Seco, Horse Thief, Mesa Trail System, those aren't things that particularly apply directly to us. They do benefit us in the long run, all that good stuff. I guess the other one would be regional trail connection between Eagle Nest and Angel Fire. I honestly don't know how much we could get done with that in the scope of this contract, because the scope is for 1 year, and then we have the option to renew for an additional 4 years. So for $15,000, we'd get 1 year of these services, and I don't know if it's feasible to expect regional connection movement from Angel Fire to Eagle Nest in that 1 year. Let's see what else is in here. ECTA's role will include acting as a liaison between the Village of Angel Fire and federal, state, and regional land management agencies to advocate for our local trail priorities, assisting with the planning development of new and existing trails, including site assessment, alignment recommendations, and sustainable design consultation, coordinating with the village staff and public/private partners to enhance bike, trail, and pedestrian motorized recreation infrastructure, and identifying and pursuing funding opportunities from grants, capital outlay, state sources, etc., and other funding mechanisms to support trail development. I think that was kind of the big, when we talked to Lauren, I feel like that was one of our big needs from him, was somebody to step in and do some project management, trail construction, management, et cetera. So it's nice that that falls into the scope of the work. There's also some other points, develop a trail master training program, or help organize community trail maintenance events, along with National Public Lands Day, National Trails Day, et cetera, and managing an adopted trail program to engage some local businesses. And then the trail promotion would be to develop and distribute updated trail user brochures for cyclists, hikers, etc. Maintain, update, and promote the new trail maps, and provide input on trailhead design, kiosk, directional signage, etc. So I think for, I don't know, I feel like, I know that we have to justify it to council, but I think for $15,000, we could probably get our money's worth if we put Lauren to good use.
If we got one grant that they were able to say, hey, have you thought about this grant and applying there? That would pay for way more than the 15 grand.
I think so. I think it's I like the scope of it. It's not so overly broad that he left us with, oh, well, I might help you here. There's some very clear actionable things that we could put him to work. So I think it's a reasonable proposal. I'll turn it over to everyone else.
Oh, some of it is very, very long term, like.
It is.
The Eagle Nest
Right.
to Angel Fire, are they even gonna bring the topic up in the year that we would be contracted for? Probably not.
Sure.
I mean, but it's something that we'll be thinking about and should be thinking about long term. But I think the short term benefits, as long as they, come through on what they're suggesting, some of those benefits we already have regardless of whether or not we engage in this contract.
Sure.
The Trail Master stuff, for instance, they're gonna do that anyway.
My reservation is a lot of things they mentioned, we've already accomplished on our own.
Yes.
We've already got the grant funding for Frank Young, so for like this $15,000 for the next year, I don't know what more they would be contributing. I mean, the Frank Young Trail, like I say, we're hoping to have that completed by sometime in 2026. And that's pretty much, I don't, they said they could assist with the design and all that kind of stuff, but I think given the time frame, I don't see them coming in at this point to help us with the design.
Sure, that's
Of
fair.
that trail, or.
Maybe we could engage them
We don't,
on the community center trail, there's other ways I think that we could engage them.
Well, and they specifically stated the area out on the other side.
The national forest.
The national forest side of things, so.
Is that something we're gonna be emphasizing in the next year or so? I think we're gonna be pretty much tied up with making sure the Frank Young trail extension gets done.
I think that we'd be short-sighted if we did not start thinking about what's next. So yes, we're gonna be focused on Frank Young, but we still need to focus on, okay, we got that going, what's next?
And then how, do we know how ECTA is funded and is there a risk with the current political environment that ECTA could go away?
No, because they get all soft funding, they're grant funded and contract funded, so.
Is it
They don't get any
grants?
federal.
So it says, let's see, enclosed proposed scope of work, professional services, blah, blah, blah. We are requesting $15,000 a year, which represents 8% of ECTA's current operating budget. If that helps answer.
So I think we need to have another conversation more, because what we asked, we thought it might cost more, or he might thought it cost, we asked for potentially having a role in developing the construction grant, the tier 3 grant for Frank Young, have someone take lead on that. If Rocky is overwhelmed with workforce housing and other projects that, get someone time on that. We talked about having him work on installing that regional kiosk, which could go in Liberty Square now. So here's the regional trail kiosk thing. And we also talked about if we want to do a Angel Fire Trails forum or, half-day conference or something on trails for the village, have him facilitate that kind of thing. And I believe there was one other item in there. There's 4 things that we kind of talked about. So I don't see any of those specific things in there. So if we go back to him, are those 4
More
items?
specific about it, because I know that one of those might fall under like organizing community trail maintenance events and other like regional volunteer endeavors.
They already do that.
Right.
Yeah, but they're not specific to Angel Fire. They do that. But they're not focusing on us at all.
No.
And this kind of might shift that focus towards our local trails as opposed to.
My concern is the staffing, because I think they only have 3 people. We got Courtney, who does all the adopted trail programs, you got Muggsy, he does training and stuff, then Lauren. And with all the other projects they have, and been working with them for close to 2 years, I guess now, with adopted trail.
Did Muggsy leave Forest Service to work for ECTA?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. Thoughts from the online gallery on ECTA's proposal?
I feel disadvantaged because I haven't seen it, so until we can get it out, I don't know that the rest of us can participate very well, other than the blah, blah, blah we got from Matt.
It could have been a 3-paragraph proposal, but what for all the blah, blah, blah. Their ands and the uhs. How about this? How about if Matt will share that with the group?
Yeah.
And the action item is Matt will share with the group. And let's take a look at this. Let's look at what we asked Lauren to consider. Matt, can you bring Lauren into the next meeting, the
Yep.
April meeting, and we have another conversation back and forth with Lauren on his proposal and what
Okay.
we were hoping to, our specific
Fantastic.
asks are out of this.
Okay, copy.
Is that acceptable to everyone?
It's fine with me.
What were the 4 things we thought were
The 3 of them were construction grants for the tier 3 for the trail, or find other sources of money for it. A potential trail, kind of a trail conference, Inspired Trails workshop or conference,
and then the kiosk?
the kiosk idea with the 3. There's probably one other one.
Let's see, from my notes, we had Frank Young Extension specifically. Helping the village and resort complete or begin and complete an adaptive trail assessment.
Oh, that's the 4th one, adaptive trail.
Assessment.
And then, the regional kiosk and a trail summit.
That's it. So the adaptive trail one was finding grant money or use lodgers tax money potentially to assess everything on the resort and the village that's adaptive. So we learned last summer, example, that after Go Unlimited Road to Mountain, they're gonna put up adaptive signs on some of the trails on the mountain. Don't know if that's gonna happen this summer or not. It was like a great idea. But that same thing could happen on the Greenbelt trails, because if the Veterans Wellness are bringing in these folks in here and they're really marketing this community as all inclusive for outdoor recreation, those should be marked for adaptive.
Well, we rode every trail except for Sage and Coyote. And those have some tight switchbacks.
Right.
Those were the only issues there for them.
Right.
Everything else was rideable.
Good, okay, thank you. Those are the 4 things. We need to come back to them with
Okay.
those conversations about those 4 things. All right. So action, again, Matt will share the scope of work with the committee. The committee will review that and provide comments back to Matt on what's in that proposal and how it works or doesn't work for us, or any counter offers. And then we'll bring Lauren into a conversation at our next meeting.
Okay.
Agree then on what we want to do. Okay, 2024 accomplishments. So we put that together, and then Chris has been working on that. Chris was hoping to get all our information. Did everyone comply with your last request?
Still need Lonnie and Elliot's data, and then it's ready to go to council.
Okay. So Lonnie, Elliot, both of you guys, today,